Holiday Hills Golf Resort is a 500-room resort situated right outside of Branson. It's mainly a family resort. A lot of our guests and owners, they travel here via car through a lot of neighboring states like Iowa, Nebraska, Texas, even as far as Louisiana.
We had a storm come in. We just thought it was a typical storm, and then we started hearing the tornado sirens in Branson, and then we started seeing the hail come down.
When he called, it sounded like somebody was hitting his truck with a baseball bat. I mean, you could hear the windshield cracking. He's yelling, saying that the storm's hitting us and they're trying to take cover.
Never been through anything like that here at Holiday Hills Resort. It was pretty dramatic when we drove through property and seeing the damage that was caused through property and also guest vehicles, through the windows. And it was pretty devastating when we seen the whole property as we drove around.
This was 2-inch hailstones. This was hard enough to penetrate all the siding at the property, broken out windows, boarded up windows. It was really heavily impacted.
When I arrived at Holiday Hills, just seeing the vinyl siding and the roofs totally mauled with hail damage, riddled with 2-inch holes everywhere, trees that are limbs broken off. The amount of damage was, it was devastating.
92, 93, some odd buildings here. Different residences, different sales offices, different maintenance buildings. When we walked on site and just saw how many roofs were damaged, how much siding there was. There were some 500 windows that were blown out by the hail. One of the things that we needed to make sure that we were doing as we proposed our operations plan was to make sure that we didn't tear the community up. This is a beautifully manicured, landscaped resort property, and we needed to bring in an awful lot of equipment, heavy machinery, an awful lot of people, trucks, and we needed to be able to do this delicately so that we made sure that we were doing good and weren't leaving a trail of mess in the aftermath.
One of the biggest challenges we had early on was we had a start date of the end of February, and our client wanted us completed by their 4th of July weekend. It's a big weekend here on the resort. So we had to build the project to fit 92 buildings to complete in 4 months.
A few months in comes a global pandemic, and we certainly hadn't seen anything like that before.
I would say in the beginning, when we found out about the restrictions and the things that could have affected our schedule, we were a little bit skeptical that we would be able to finish on time and be able to hit the deadlines that we had. However, it turned out to work in our favor due to the fact that the customer had to shut down the resort for the clients, and we were able to access all the buildings, even in phases that were further on in the timeline. So it played out as a good thing for the project, even though it was a terrible thing that happened.
And we took the proper protocols to make sure that we were doing the right things for our employees and more importantly for the guests at the property. But ultimately at the end of the day, we were able to execute on what we promised to this client, to engage them and understand that we promised a date regardless of COVID, and we managed to get to that date, and we were able to execute on that promise.
We looked at a lot of different companies leading up to the construction part of it, and when BluSky came, they had this sense of professionalism about them. On us, they did their homework. BluSky had a very aggressive timeline, which I was skeptical at first, but getting to know the management team and how they operated, I could see that they were gonna deliver. They had hundreds of people here. So, like I said, I was skeptical, but when I saw what they came, their workforce, and how they operated, and just the drive that a lot of the leadership had, they were gonna deliver.
So while the property was going to be reconstructed from the hail damage, we decided to do several other projects, which would be a good time.
Do they just want to see the broken window fixed? Or do they want to see a new paint scheme, something more fresh and updated? And that was the big picture. The big picture was, do we take this opportunity now, get it done, and open this resort as this beautiful place we needed to improve? We're not just going to rebuild. Rebuilding would be putting new windows in, putting a new roof on, and calling it a day. we decided that we wanted a new color scheme. So every building got a new color scheme.
One of the things that we did that was unique here is we did 3D renderings of all of the buildings, and we were able to show what the buildings would look like with different color schemes and different color packages. And we worked side by side with their design department to put together something that they felt was new and refreshed, and it's a totally new resort.
When BluSky was here, they were very professional. We had no concerns. Whenever we did have an issue, we called them. They handled it promptly. We met with them weekly and discussed any concerns that we had, and they addressed it.
Whenever I needed something, they would always respond, and that's kind of what you want. That's that bond. You want that rapport with somebody where you can tell them what's going on, you can ask them questions, and they're responsive. Because we all know in this industry, not everything runs perfectly. There's always some issues. There's always something that pops up on our end or somebody else's end that we just need to take care of. And that's something that I really appreciate from the whole leadership team there is how well they carried themselves, and they just stayed on top of things. Because it's a huge project. I mean, there was 5 or 6 project managers here. Our relationship was great. It still is great. It was not only a business relationship, but it became personal. We all had the same goal, right? They wanted to improve this property. We wanted to improve the property, but they also had our vision. They saw what we wanted, and that's what makes the difference. Anybody can be paid to do the job, but when they care about it and they see something wrong and they want to make sure that it's the best quality, that's the difference.
Customer service is paramount to what we do. Creating a great and strong partnership with our customer is extremely important. Understanding that there's operations that happen on both sides, and we need to make sure that we bring those together. That is extremely important when we talk about a project of this size, and that is exactly what we focused on.
This project was important to me because it was a very aggressive schedule and there was a lot of work to do. And in the very beginning, everybody said it couldn't be done. But I knew it could be done, and I wanted to prove that to myself, prove that to my customer, prove that to BluSky. It was important to me to do exactly what we say we were going to do, and that's what we did.
When you talk about night and day, this is a new resort. BluSky delivered. They delivered on the dream that my corporate office had in their mind and on their renderings, and what I envisioned. People that come here that haven't been here since last year, they're constantly turning and saying, wow, this place looks amazing. They delivered on what we wanted.